Started. A couple years ago, actually. Well, a smaller one. My brother and I. My brother is an ADR supervisor at Funimation, and he used to be an ADR engineer, and he used to be Tatum's engineer. And so we have worked. All three of us have worked together. And Gino and I, whenever Tatum very first started directing. Are any of you familiar with Aquarion?
Yeah.
In Aquarion, it's not a kind of show that you want to voice with your brother engineering it. It's a mech show, and I don't think I've ever told my mom this. It's a mech show, and whenever the different, people merge together, the sounds that they have to make are akin to an orgasm. Oh. So I had to essentially make orgasm noises in front of my brother. It was disgusting.
Or disturbing.
It was awful. And we even petitioned to have him switched over to a different studio so that we wouldn't have to do that. And they were like, well, we just need you to be professional about it and stop being dramatic. And honestly, I don't think it had anything to do with professionalism or anything like that. I honestly think that everyone just wanted to see the reaction of that. They were just messing with us the whole time. I'm convinced of it. But anyway, that's how the friendship formed between me and Tatum and Gino. It pretty much consisted of Tatum making fun of the fact that I had to make those terrible sounds in front of my brother, and Gino, my brother and I making fun of Tatum about virtually everything. And so we happened to be in Tatum's neck of the woods. My God, what is that? Tatum's neck of the woods, which is Arlington, Texas. Pretty far away from where I live in Dallas. So because we were in the area, we wanted to go hang out with him, because we're not usually over there. And so we call him and leave a message and say, hey, we wanted to stop by and say hello, we couldn't remember where you lived, call us and let us know. And then Gino, as soon as I hung up the phone, Gino was like, wait, I think I remember exactly where they live. So we went over to their house. He was not home. Gino noticed, however, that the window was open. Unlocked, I mean. Not wide open, but unlocked. So we, of course, broke into the house and rearranged his furniture and took out books and stuff and put them on his coffee table, just open. And then Gino started kind of freaking out because he was like, oh my God, what if someone calls the cops? Like, what if someone, because it was his front porch that we took off the screen and went into the window from. So I mean, it's pretty open and obvious if someone saw us. So he was like, we should leave in case anybody called the cops. So we started driving away, and then Gino was like, God, I really want to do more stuff. So I was like, okay. So we went to the 7-Eleven, it's like a little market around the corner, and got ice cream and little mini beer cans, and went back and put those in the refrigerator, and I wrote notes on the ice cream saying, I heart Tatum forever and stuff like that. And then we wrote a little note on this Post-it that my brother just had in his wallet that had these random numbers all over it, and then wrote a note we had a great time, thanks, see you later. And then we left. So from there, we got home, and Tatum immediately calls me and asks if we had been over to the house. And I was like, well, no, because remember we left that voicemail that said we didn't know how to get there, so how could we get there if we don't know how to get there? And he was like, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. It's just, yeah, somebody, I think someone broke into the house and just, rearranged all my furniture, and it's just really freaking me out. I was like, yeah, man, that is so weird. And then got off the phone, and then I decided, I'll let him sweat it out for 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Several hours later, I realized that I forgot to call him back. So I call him, And turns out he had called the police, and he had written a police report, and he had also called every person in his cell phone, accusing them of breaking into his house. Oh wait, I forgot the best part. When I first called, I didn't reveal that that it was me yet. I called and was like, hey, did they leave ice cream and beer in your refrigerator? Yeah. I think they were at my house too, man. And then he starts freaking out, and then I started laughing, and I was like, you are so dumb, dude. That was me and Gino. And then that's when he told me that he had done all that stuff. So I was like, ha, that's awesome. So he had vowed to get me back ever since then. And I think it was at Anime Central in Chicago last year. It was going to be our first convention to ever do together. So I was convinced that this was going to be the convention where he was going to do it. That's where he was going to get me back. So I decided to do a preemptive strike. Tatum is deathly afraid of clowns. And what? I've done several things to make fun of him for that. I have chased him around the studio in a clown mask, but it was like a luchador clown mask, so it wasn't like a real clown mask. I would often sing circus music, and I would sing Send in the Clowns as much as possible. So I decided that at opening ceremonies for Anime Central, which is a pretty big convention, I think there was probably, I'm gonna guess, 800 people just at the opening ceremonies alone. And I sang Send in the Clowns, but I changed all of the lyrics to be specifically about him, and how when I broke into his house, I actually broke into it with clowns and let them play with all of his musical scores and piano, and that they're actually still in his house, and that they were all at the convention waiting, lurking around the corner, waiting to steal his mind and make him one of them. And so I did this at opening ceremonies. I had the whole convention, all the people working the convention knew about it. It was all planned out perfectly. And then he made a really crappy attempt to get me back. It was not even good. I was so mad, because it actually would have been good had he planned it out and put a little more thought and effort into it like I did. He did something where he has a fan club called the Shadow Followers. Are any of you guys in that? I think it's just in the States. But he had them make up all these flyers with a picture of a sloth. And this sloth was named Beck, which, you know, was Beck over here? Did you guys ever see Beck?
It came out over here, but they never finished it over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good show. Well, on that, there's a dog named Beck, and that's like one of my favorite roles that I ever played. Not the dog. I was, you know, a girl in it. But, so the sloth was named Beck, and it was supposedly this sloth, like there was a whole story about this sloth, about how I had rescued it from a Honduran jungle, which also sloths are not in Honduras, just saying. I'm Honduran, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I'm half Honduran. And I rescued him from the Honduran jungles, and that he had passed away, and to be sure and send my condolences. But the thing is, the convention didn't know that he was doing it, so whenever people posted that, they didn't have a permit to post it. So they all got torn down, like immediately upon posting. So I had like one person ask me about it, like, oh, I'm so sorry about Beck. And I was like, what? It's like you're a sloth or what? I just kind of wrote it off to them being intoxicated or something. So it didn't really affect me at all. And then the very last day of the convention, his fans came through and gave me the flyer or whatever and showed it to me, and I was like, well, that was a good effort. But you get an F+. plus. You must try again. So I keep telling him that he still has to get me back, but he insists that he's just not smart enough, which is true. So, if you guys ever write him or see him or something, be sure and tell him he needs to get me back. He needs, what he needs, everyone keeps telling him, because the only person that I think could really get me back to the level that it would need to be, considering the epic amount that I have already put in to the hat, would be Chris Sabat. But he keeps saying that if he makes a deal with Chris Sabat, then that means that it's like making a deal with the devil. That means that he will then in turn, like Chris will not only prank me, but also prank him. And I was like, that's true, but I think it's your only option. So, yeah. There's that. So, any questions after that?
I'm just wondering, I came late, so I don't know, have we talked about your role as Hideyoshi yet?
Yes, Hideyoshi, and I didn't have a microphone when I did his voice earlier. Is that what you want to hear what he sounds like? I'm pretty sure he just kind of sounds like this. I haven't done him in a while, so I'm just going to guess it's about right here. Very bored all the time.